Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Welcome back to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Matt, Garrett, and a special guest is with us today, which I will introduce here in just 2 seconds. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. If you want to know more about everything that we're going to talk about today, well, we're going to talk a little bit about ninja selling. That's where we come from. But we have this wonderful guest with us today, and we're going to showcase what she has created and this incredible platform that is available out there that a lot of people don't even realize exists, and a lot of people don't even realize the need for it until it's too late. So we're very excited to have Melissa Foote on with us today. Melissa Foote owns a company called Step by Step Tech, and we're going to talk specifically today about step-by-step home inventory. And special thanks to Clara Capano. Clara Capano is one of the Ninja Selling instructors, and she introduced us to Melissa. And we got a chance to play around with this platform, take a look at it, and this hits to home. At least for me in my world, it hits very close to home. So Melissa, good morning. I'm so excited to talk to you. So excited to know more about this platform. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Did I leave anything out? That was a pretty smooth intro.
That was good.
Great.
Oh, I'm getting good at this. Okay. Well, Melissa, I'm so excited to talk to you today. And again, I really appreciate Clara for putting us in touch with each other, because what you have created is a home inventory, basically step-by-step walk-through home inventory. And this was created out of necessity of what happened in your area. And I've shared with people in my world that, Redding, California, we had a massive fire. I can't remember how long ago it was. It feels like it was decades ago now, but it really wasn't that long ago, where I have so many friends that lost homes and everything from their Christmas ornaments that they've been carrying with them forever to all the important pictures to all the important stuff. And you came into this world, created this class out of a necessity of your friends and your people that you knew. Because Melissa's from Firestone, Colorado, and very close to her, Superior, Colorado, which is where these fires happened that everybody heard about on the news. So Melissa, welcome. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how this came to be. What got you going down this path to creating this system?
Perfect. Well, I teach tech classes to mostly adults in retirement communities. And so many of these communities where I teach were within just miles of the Marshall Fire. And so fast forward to January 2022, people were just living in absolute fear and, driving through their neighborhoods, entire blocks were completely decimated. And so it was just really sad to see so many people had lost absolutely everything. And people, were still fighting with insurance companies a year plus later because they're not being reimbursed or made whole. They really just never had proof of all the things that they had in their house. And so I started putting together this class to help people have a structure. It's not really rocket science, but when people don't have a structure, it can feel really daunting to think about going into your home and documenting every single thing you have. Because on average, Americans have over 300,000 items in their homes. And so think about documenting that many items. For most people, it's just, they're paralyzed by even getting started because they don't know how to do this. So I put together this program to really just walk people through the process in a really quick and easy way.
Well, Melissa, we had people in our area like years later that were still waiting out for insurance companies to pay out. And the insurance companies kept saying, we will pay you out as soon as you give us a complete inventory of your home. And what the interesting thing is that there wasn't any recourse of, oh, I forgot something on that. Like once it was submitted, it was done. And so it was like, you better have it all right. But then all of a sudden they're making these calls on these people saying, look, you either turn it in or we don't reimburse you at all. And that was a really interesting thing for me to watch and to learn that how important it is to have this inventory. And it's daunting. Like it is, you said how many things?
300,000 items.
Wow. I'm sitting here looking at my desk. I'm like, I got probably 1,000 just on my desk right here. Well, no, that's probably it.
Well, and you just think about, the inside of your home, the outside of your home, if you, your garage, all the tools you've accumulated over years, decades, and you, like you just said, you don't even realize what you've lost until you need it, which might be past the year deadline you have to submit your inventory to your insurance agent. So you might be putting up Christmas decorations and then you realize you're missing, A, B, or C, and it's already too late and you've already submitted things. So it is great to just have a very detailed list, which you can do really quickly and easily in a couple of hours, which is what I teach people to do in this class. So
I made the mistake of walking into somebody's house the day that they were putting up their Christmas tree. And at that moment, they were realizing that they had lost all their, when I kind of stepped in it a little bit because I started asking questions, but they were all of a sudden starting to realize that they had not gotten the Christmas ornaments out of the house before it burned. And I all of a sudden was like, I need to step out of here. Like there's a lot of emotion in this room right now. So yeah, those are those things.
Well, I was going to say, Melissa, when we first spoke, and this is what kind of gave me the aha of like, gosh, this is something that we need and that as realtors, we should be sharing with our clients. Because you said, well, just start right now. Go in your room and everybody can do this right now. Even if you're in your car and parked, not while you're driving, like just take inventory of everything that you can see. And my office is an absolute mess, but like, even if I'm just sitting here right now, I'm just like, okay, there's a computer, there's a microphone, there's a camera, there's a monitor, there's speakers, there's a desk, there's a chair. And you just start to go through like, oh my gosh, how could I remember all this stuff or write it down? Because I think sometimes you think, well, I'll remember the big stuff. Like, yeah, the big TV, the car in the garage, the couch, the table. I can remember those things. But then for me, two things hit is like, one, there's so many small things that are actually really expensive in our world. And two, we also need to prove to the insurance company that the table was really that table, right?
Right.
So that's what I had happen. Because, okay, so Melissa, we're going to talk about how your system works here in just a second, but I had an insurance agent way back in the day that said you need to take a video of your entire house. And so in my mind, as literally all our evacuation, our phones are blowing up saying, you got to get out, you got to get out. I'm looking over the top of my house. I have pictures of smoke just billowing over the top of my house from the front yard. And I'm like, Dina said, run, like, make sure you have a video. And I'm running around my house taking this video. And I was so proud of myself. I get all the way out to where I'm at, even with the video, like Matt's saying, like, you got to be able to document what it was. I'm looking at a wall that I have guitars hanging on, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this doesn't even show what models they are. I have nothing to say. Oh, but that's a really nice guitar. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that if you have really expensive or valuable items and you don't have proof of what they are, then you're at the whim of what your insurance company labels what they're valued at versus, kind of my tagline for this class is taking a couple hours now can save you hundreds of hours of time and stress later, because it really does just take a couple hours to document all of these things. And then you do have proof. And because we all have smartphones, our data lives in the cloud. So God forbid you lose your house or something happens, you still can log into your Apple Photos or your Google Photos account from any device, and you can still see all of your information there so that you do have something to prove to your insurance company.
Yeah.
So Melissa, like what is like, do you want to kind of walk us through kind of a step-by-step of like how this works?
Of course. So I really go into just even planting a seed of how important it is for everybody to have one, whether you live in California and you're, at risk to fire, or you live somewhere where there's hurricanes. The number one cause of house fires is cooking, and other reasons, things like lithium batteries and electrical systems. There are lots of reasons, unfortunately, why people lose their homes, and nobody is exempt. So everybody really does need this. I do talk a lot about just why it's so important. And then I walk people through a system of how you can go room by room and take a video of everything in that space. I have a checklist just to walk people through the process. So, if you don't get to do it all in one day, at least you know where you started and where you left off. Once you have all your videos, if truly that's all you do, at least you have something that proves what you own in your home. And then after that, I show people how to use pictures to add more detail to your inventory for things like your guitars, or if people have china, or, anything really valuable that you've invested in that's something you want to highlight in your inventory. I show people how to add detail in their pictures on the back end, like how to add, you could write the type of guitar you have, how much it's worth, where you bought it. You can do all of this within your phone, in your system, in the Photos app. And then I show people how to upload all of these videos and all of these pictures into an album, because, if you don't need this information for 1 or 5 or 10 years, you're going to be scrolling through your phone trying to figure out and try to remember when you took this inventory. Instead, you put it all in an album, then at least all you have to do is go into your albums and it's all sitting right there. And everything you've done is in one space, super easy to access and find.
So, Melissa, let's just back up for a second. This is one of those weird things that you hope you never have to access once you create it. Like, it's one of those, like, it's there, but like, did I really need to pay for it? Did I really need to do it? Did I really need to spend the time? Because here it's 10 years later and I've never used it. Yeah, you're very lucky. Excellent. You never had to use it. So I think it's funny the way you said that, because this is one of those weird products you hope you never really have to follow through with at the very end.
Well, and in the same breath, I think that's why people don't do it, because, I teach this class in person and have been for over a year now. And in every class, there might be one person, usually it's nobody, but every once in a while, one person has a home inventory, and people don't have these because I don't know if it's wishful thinking or positive thinking, but you just hope you're never going to be impacted. So you're like, well, I don't really need it until you do, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
So I show people how to really just get their videos and their pictures organized so that they're really easy to find, because I don't know, anybody over 40 knows what it's like to try to find that one picture and you end up scrolling through your phone forever and you still can't find it.
What are you talking about? I don't have that problem.
Of course you don't, because you're not over 40, right?
Oh, maybe a little bit.
I think this is such a great part of this class, and because you also have a checklist that's in here as well. You help people create a checklist. You even have a template in there, because I think it's one thing getting the video and the photos done, but organizing it, which we just recently moved and we hired a home organizer to help organize certain parts of the house, and it was like the best money we ever spent, because we still wouldn't have a kitchen that's organized if we were doing it ourselves. And so having that organization of it is crucial as well, because you think in these moments, like, you want to have quick access to it. And for people who are thinking, well, we don't live in these disaster zones, as you mentioned, the number one source of house fires is cooking, but there's also other things that could happen to your home. And I mean, there was an agent in the office that holds my brokerage license. Recently, her home here was burnt to the ground, and the 2 vehicles that were in the driveway as well. My parents recently had a scare, and the control module in their HVAC melted, and they thought the house was on fire. You mentioned before we started recording, Melissa, a friend of yours had their kid's toy car, which I need to go check. My kid's toy car was plugged in, overcharged the battery, and caused a house fire. So these things can happen, even though it's rare. The time and investment into doing this is so crucial. And I see this as a great opportunity for all the realtors listening, all the ninjas listening, to build this into your program, right? Whether it's your annual real estate review, you make this a part of it, or helping your buyers and sellers in the moment do this stuff. Even thinking about it, Melissa, you mentioned this, right? Selling a house, right? How cool is it to just have a home inventory when you're selling a house, right?
Yeah, especially then when you start getting settled in the new house, you remember where all the things are that you used to have in the old house. I don't know, it's hard to get settled in a new space and you can't remember if you got rid of something or you brought it with you. So just having that proof of what you have is great too.
That's when you get to the new house and you're like, okay, it said I had a mountain bike when I left the first house. I don't know where that mountain bike is right now.
Well, and even almost like insurance for yourself with moving. I mean, everybody knows somebody who thinks they lost a box from the movers, or something was displaced, or something was lost or broken, then you even just have proof of things on the beginning end of moving.
Yep.
That's actually, we had a table damage when we moved, and luckily it all worked out. The moving company helped take care of it, but before and after pictures are paramount for this. I mean, yeah, if you get something stolen from your house, something, just picks up legs and walks away, like, these are all things that insurance can help cover you for if you have proof. So, Melissa, people who are thinking, like, we say that it's easy, but when you say it's super easy, it takes a few hours to do this. Like, how does this work? Just so people have an idea, without giving away, obviously, exactly what this is, but is it video walkthroughs? Is it tutorials where they have to read? Is it, how does the actual class work to help people actually go through and accomplish it?
So at the beginning of each module, there is a video of me, but it's mostly just explaining what will happen in that module, so people are set up and understand what's going to happen in the next few lessons. And then once they get into the lesson, there is a description of all the things to do with step-by-step directions. There's also printable directions. So, even if you want to print them off, if you're a visual person and you need to, have them in your hand, you can do that as well. And then as soon as you go through each module, it literally will walk you step by step through taking your videos. Then the second module is how to add pictures to your inventory. The next module is how to organize all of this in the cloud. So really people can work at their own pace depending on how much time they have. And once you have access to the class, you have it forever. So if it takes you, if you're really motivated and you get it done in a week, which I would highly recommend, you can do that. I teach 60, 70, even 80-year-olds in some of the communities where I am. And I teach this class in person and they get this done in a week. So it is very doable if you carve out the time and make it a priority. And if life is busy, you can also make it fit your life over the, couple of weeks. But I think one of the other really important parts of my class came out of my experience of listening to all the town hall meetings from the Marshall Fire. So there are so many things people can additionally put in place to be prepared for an emergency. And so the last module in this class are just really simple tips of things you can do. For example, make a go back. So if you have a pet, you throw a couple extra leashes and a food bowl in a bag so that if you ever had to quickly evacuate your house, you can go grab that go bag. If you have medication, but you can't, if you take it every day, you can't throw it in your go bag. But even like Advil, if you have back problems, you have some Advil so that, we heard so many people walk into Target after this fire and they realized they needed everything because they had nothing. And people were like, I just wish I even had one outfit that was mine, that were my clothes, some PJs to sleep in or just something familiar. And so that go bag really could just be a bag of stuff that is yours if you ever needed to run out of your house. I also teach people how to make a quick emergency list. So if, like you were saying, Garrett, when you have to run out of your house and you have minutes, you already have thought through what are the things I need to grab. You have a sticky note by your front and your back door and everybody knows, here's the list we've already thought through prior to being, in go mode of these are the things I need to grab as I run out of the door. How to start thinking about your important documents. Where are they? Are they updated? Do you have digital copies of them? Are they somewhere you can quickly grab them and go if you needed to? Because things like car titles and passports can be replaced. But can you imagine if you're already going through the trauma of losing your home, you're living in a hotel, and now you have to be on the phone calling people to get documents replaced? It would be something you can prevent if you just had all that stuff. You have a plan. So most importantly is getting a home inventory done, but really this class is to help you do all of the things within a couple hours so you're prepared. And I think your clients, your realtors could offer this, especially to their clients, as a great service.
It's interesting as you were just saying is like, that in that moment of like when it's actually happening, I'm sitting here thinking back is because I hold on to some interesting trauma, I guess would be the right way, from that day of when that all happened and we had to evacuate. And, I'm thinking back to like the craziness of like watching all my neighbors frantically run around the streets, checking on each other and throwing everything they possibly can in the car. And you said, grabbing the ridiculous things that don't really matter to you. You're grabbing things that's like, you're like, oh, I want, you're throwing like a keychains and stuff into things. Like, well, that stuff can go. There's other more important things. And we have a chest. It's a big chest right by the front door. And it's funny, before the fire, it just kind of housed blankets. That chest now is like every important photo that we would never be able to replace. Every little document is in that chest. If you come and rob my house and you take that chest, it's all personal effects. You're going to get nothing fun out of it, no value. It's all my stuff. But it's one of those things that like we have this system now of like, we see smoke, that chest goes in the car way before we ever get the evacuation warning. Again, we have a little bit of PTSD from the fire.
It does cause that for people. I mean, it's serious and it lasts a long time. So, it's just even great to have this done because it gives you some peace of mind. Hopefully you never need it, but at least like you and your wife and your family, Garrett, know that you have thought through these things and God forbid it ever happens. You at least have a little bit of peace of mind on this end, knowing you're prepared.
So now, Matt, I'm curious here because as I was listening to Melissa talk about this and what the value is of kind of what she's put together here and how this works, I'm sitting here going, okay, so here we have a majority of you out there are real estate agents. And here we are helping people buy homes. We're helping people sell houses, and we're helping them have access to this piece that needs this product, like needs somebody to be able to say, hey, look, by the way, part of being a smart homeowner is you need to do this for yourself. I see so many ways that this could be offered, or at least either educate your people about it, saying, hey, this exists out here and I highly recommend it. I know realtors right now that would just say, this is part of my service. I just get you this as part of who I am as your realtor and your trusted home advisor. And here's something you need, and I'm going to take care of it. Matt, what are your thoughts around this?
Oh, man. I mean, I think when I first connected with you, Melissa, and looked at this course, one, not only is this something that we talk about a lot, this is something, we should be doing these things. Well, here is a product that's created, but not only is it a product, but it's actually really, really good. It's really easy to follow along Melissa's course. It's really easy to do the things. And as Larry Kendall always says, it's easy to do and easy not to do. But when you have that motivation of like, hey, I paid for this course, which it's not expensive either. Current pricing, Melissa, right, is $97
Correct.
for access to this class, which is, and we have a discount code that we'll share at the end too for everybody. But it's not expensive to access this great product. And so if I was listing and selling homes, I would be putting this into my process. I mean, for $97 as a part of what I offer to all my sellers, all my buyers, to get this put together, I would just go onto the website, punch the client's email in, create their account for them, and let them know, hey, you're getting this email that's giving you access to this class that I want you to take that's going to help you get your home organized if you're selling and if you're just recently bought, and make sure that, God forbid, anything were to happen, you're going to be protected with your insurance company. And also then to let the insurance company know, hey, I did this, right? Because they'll be really excited about that in knowing that that's done. So I would build it into just my buyer and seller processes, Garrett, but also real estate reviews, right? That would be an easy no-brainer.
That's where I was thinking, like, if I was sitting down with somebody on their first annual, and Melissa, we kind of talked about this before we got started recording today, but like, if I was sitting down with somebody a year after they've bought their house, they're settled, they've got all their stuff, all their pieces are all set up, all the things are hung on the walls, everything's unpacked, and you're sitting down to do their first annual real estate review, and you're like, all right, I got, again, two ways you can handle this. I got you guys something. It's all set up. I paid for it. It's taken care of. This is something you need to be doing for your home. And I'm going to be on you until you get it done. Like, this is not I hope you do it. Wouldn't it be nice if you did it? Like, this is too important. I could see doing it that way, or saying at that real estate review, or at every real estate review, do you have a home inventory of your house? Have you gone and done this? Because just as you were talking before, it's like, it's not a high risk fire situation that you need to be in. I quickly remembered we had a home, I think it was here in Reading, burned down because somebody had taken all their 9-volt batteries out of all their smoke detectors, put them in a paper bag, put them on a shelf in their garage, and 2 of the negative and positive touched, and they overheated and caused a fire, burn the house down.
Holy cow.
So it's like, we are the problem, everybody, just so you know. It's not forest, it's not lightning, it is us. We are the problem, and that's where we have something here to hopefully protect us from when we cause mayhem.
Well, so Melissa, I have a question for you. Doing this once is great. How often should people go back?
Good question.
And update their inventory? Like, is this an annual thing? Is this every 6 months, every 2 years? Like, what would be, what do you think a good frequency of people going through this? Obviously doing it the first time is the most important, but in terms of updates, what are you seeing now that you've been doing this for a little over a year?
I encourage people to put it in their calendar twice a year. So I don't know about you all, but for some reason in my head, speaking of batteries from fire detectors, I feel like every time there's daylight savings in my head, I remember I'm supposed to change my fire detector batteries. And so I tell people, whether it's a system like that, like every time there's daylight savings, although I guess if we get rid of it, that won't be helpful. But, just somehow twice a year, make it a point to go into your space and take note or re-record a video if there's anything that's updated, if you've done a home improvement or you bought a new couch or whatever. I'd like to say you should do these things in the moment, but those aren't what you're thinking of. So having a, set time on your calendar to alert you, to make sure you remember to go through your house and update at least twice a year. I was also going to go back to the insurance piece. I've talked to multiple insurance agents about this and what people require, and every insurance agent is different. So in this class, I also have questions that you can print off to get as a starting point to go make an appointment with your insurance company and ask them, what would you require of me if anything happened to my home? I've had insurance agents who have said if people have a video home inventory, they'd be happy to attach it to their file in their system even, so you don't even have to send it to them if something happened. So there is quite a lot of options on the spectrum, but I do think, talking with your insurance agent, using these questions in my course to get started, just so you're aware of what would happen with your specific agent if you needed it,
And Melissa, really important, like when we saw the fires happen out here, there were people that certain insurance companies, we're not going to name any right now, but certain ones literally showed up at the house while it was still smoldering and wrote them a check and just said, you guys are good. Like we know what your value was. We know everything here. We got you guys covered. And if there's things you think about, and as you do your inventory, we'll cover that as it kind of comes. There are insurance companies that did that. And then there are the ones that literally sat back and said, you've got to provide every bit of information until we do it. And it was really hard to watch. And what you just said is go sit down with your insurance company and ask these questions as the what if. And then that goes into like what we talk about with using the real estate reviews. Also ask about like, how much am I covered for when this happens? Is it the full amount? Is it a partial amount? Like, what does this all look like? Because a lot of us are not insured for as much as we think we are.
Yeah.
That is a great point. So we had moved about a year and a half before the Marshall Fire, and we purchased our house in Colorado. The market here was, pretty hot. And when this fire happened, we touched base with our insurance agent, and our house had already gone up a couple $100,000 in the very short time. We had to up our coverage. And if we hadn't, you don't realize how fast the value of your home can go up. And if your house burns and they're going to give you the amount you paid or the amount you were insured for, it might not even be enough to rebuild where you want to live and where your kids go to school and where your whole life is, which is sadly what's happening in Superior still. People can't afford to rebuild. They were underinsured. And so now they're having to move to new cities, and it uproots your whole life when you're already going through a traumatic event. So your insurance agent is key in this process too, to kind of wrap it all up in a bow and make sure you talk to them and understand where you are and that you have enough coverage.
Yeah, it's interesting. Most insurance policies are never designed to cover the entire cost of the house. They're designed to cover a water leak in your kitchen that screws up all your floors and maybe floods the basement. And they're like, all right, here's a check. Take care of your new floors. Fix the water leak. Here's all the drywall repair downstairs and water damage. Done. Move along. But when it comes to entire replacement, they were never designed to be that.
Yep.
So anything else we should be thinking about? This is awesome, by the way. I am so excited about this because, again, this hits like right in my backyard. It's literally weird to say it that way.
Yeah, my goal really is to just, I'm really excited to have this class online now because I've been serving people who live in my community for the last year. And, just hearing story after story, this is a problem and an issue that people deal with across the entire country. And it really is important that everybody, regardless of who you are, how old you are, how old your home is, if you're renting, if you're buying, whatever, if you have rental properties, a lot of people who have taken my classes, have rental properties or RVs or vacation homes. These are things you should be doing for every property you own because you just never know. And you have to have proof of all of your belongings for your insurance company, in order to be reimbursed through the recovery process. So I think this is something truly every single person needs. I will be happy to share this with your community as well.
Gosh, I was even thinking, you think about all the different properties. This could be something, if you have investment properties, now you don't have a lot of belongings in there, but doing this for all of the equipment and thing that's there, but also providing this to your tenants to protect them. Imagine how great of a gift that is to a tenant at a low cost. They're going to think like you're the best landlord in the world. And not only that, depending on how your insurance coverage works, obviously tenants have renters insurance, but then you also have this to help back them up with your insurance company if you need to. So there's so many, I could just see tons of great uses for this. So Melissa, if people want to go check out this class right now, which they should, they're going to, how do they find it?
So my website is stepbysteptech.org. And right on the homepage, you'll be able to find that information for the home inventory class.
Yeah, it's super easy. And you just click on online classes right there and boom, there it is. You just click on it and you're good to go. And so for the podcast listeners, we have a little coupon code that we're going to have created to give everyone 10% off of the course, which it's only $97. It's worth every single penny. So if you don't want to use the coupon code and support Melissa, feel free. But if you do use the coupon code, it also kind of helps us track like, okay, how many people out there are actually using this? But the code's going to be Ninja Podcast, all one word. Just type out Ninja Podcast. It's going to give you 10% off Melissa's course here. And I mean, I highly encourage people to do this for yourself to start to get an idea of what this is so that you know what it is. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to tell your clients about. I think it's going to be great. So Melissa, that's stepbysteptech.org, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah. And again, I would go do this for yourself, figure this out, see the value of it and see how it all works. And then I think the bigger picture is that either being able to offer or educate your own personal clients, because it's just such a great tool. So Melissa, I'm so grateful you're here to share that. Thank you for creating this, by the way, because I've tried to do it for about the past 15 years. I still haven't done it. And I went through a fire.
I think most people want to get it done. They just don't know where to start. So I'm happy to help people give, some structure to the process. And I think even one more thing you can think about is maybe if you have aging parents or grandparents, this is a great service you could help them with. Even if you don't go quite as in-depth, they already might be struggling with technology or whatever. But if you could go into your parents' house, your grandparents' house, maybe a neighbor, and help them with this same thing, it's just as important for them to have it, even if they're not a client of yours. So it's a great service for anybody.
I'm thinking of my parents and my mother and father-in-law's house. I'm like, that's a week long. And Melissa, you just opened up an entire new job of like, oh my gosh.
But it's great. You think about that too, right? Like if you go visit your parents or grandparents on holidays, you say, hey, we're going to come, we're going to spend a couple hours. I'm going to take care of doing a home inventory for you guys. What a great gift of having that there. Man, I mean, because hopefully no one ever has to use this, but God forbid you do, you have this in place. It's going to protect you. It's going to protect your family, protect your clients, and save them time and stress, which is the biggest thing. When these events happen, the last thing that you want to deal with, as you said, Melissa, is being on the phone, getting new copies of birth certificates, passports, trying to figure out how much was that dining room table, like which, where do we need to show how expensive the bed was, and all the things that were in the closet. Gosh, I mean, I don't even know what we would do with my wife's closet. These are great things. So thank you, Melissa, so much for coming on with us and sharing this and for creating this amazing class. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, pleasure's ours.
Melissa, you did great. This is Melissa's first podcast, everybody. I just want to say, absolutely well done. Crushed it.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun.
I feel like
Knocked
I
it
won
out of
the
park.
lottery being on your podcast. I didn't even have to start small. I got to start big. So it's only looking up from here. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I got a text from somebody that right after we met Melissa, and someone's like, oh my gosh, are you going to have Melissa on the podcast? That's like so cool. Like, how amazing is that? And you had texted me, and you're like, wait, this is like weird. People know who you are. It's like, it is really weird actually, but we are really excited.
Everywhere I go, people know you guys. So I appreciate you having little old me on this podcast. So thank you.
Oh my goodness. This has been great.
This is you're going to hit it big with stuff like this. I mean, all the other classes, by the way, check out what else Melissa has going on here, particularly if you're in the Colorado area. She does these in-person classes, these tech classes, which if they're, I can only imagine they're at the same level of this home inventory class, which means they're going to be very useful. And maybe we'll be creating a class, as Garrett was saying, his daughter has trouble with figuring out the right way to leave a voicemail.
Okay, just so we can clarify this real quick. She called me the other day, Matt. The phone rang. I saw it come in. I was on a coaching call. I wasn't able to answer it. And I called her back and I said, why didn't you leave a voice message? And she answered me with, I don't know how. And I said, sweetheart, when I stop talking, I'm going to start talking, say I'm not available, and then there's a beep, and then you just talk. And then she says, but how do I send it to you? I said, hang up. So, yes, that would be, we're going to have that whole course.
Yeah, Melissa will be creating, it's not just, people who are a little older. It's also now for the young kids. We got to create some tech classes.
We could make one about VHS tapes and home phones. Yes.
Betamax.
I love it. Well, for everybody listening to, if, we're going to drop a link to Melissa's class in our Facebook group. So if you're not in our Facebook group, head over to Facebook and search for the Ninja Selling Podcast. Melissa's actually in the group as well. So when we post this episode in there, if you have questions about it, you could probably comment and tag her and she'll probably answer them. Please don't overwhelm her. And we'll put a link. We'll remind you of what the coupon code is so that you guys can access it. We'll make sure you know about it. And we hope that you guys start to put this in play in your businesses, because I think this is such a tremendous offering for clients. It's another way to be that trusted advisor. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, those of you who are introduced to Ninja Selling through this, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about Ninja Selling, head over to ninjaselling.com. You can learn about our 4-day installation where you can get Ninja installed into your business and your personal world. You can also find out about coaching, which is where Garrett and I spend most of our time, and the entire team of coaches that are available to you, over 30 coaches that we have who are ready to help you with one-on-one instruction to grow your business as well. You can learn all about that at ninjaselling.com. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Melissa, thanks again so much for being with us. Garrett, thank you as well. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com.
There you will also find links for more information about Ninja Selling and coaching. Have an incredible day.